Hello everyone and welcome to Helix Plays Games. My name is Richie and joining me this week isn't Mr. Chris because he's currently on holiday on his brother's stag do in Germany. Hope you're having a great time and congratulations to his brother again for his upcoming wedding. We do have Mr. Rob. Rob, how are you?
Hello. I'm doing very, very well, thank you. And to echo what you said, Chris, I hope you're listening to this with a hungover head and some level of regret.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The regret is that it didn't go hard enough.
Didn't power through.
But I tell you what, we've got a great show lined up for you this week. We'll be discussing PlayStation exclusives coming to Xbox, Xbox coming to GeForce Now, and an update on Nicolas Cage. All that and much, much more on this week's XPass. But before we get into it, if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications turned on so you're kept in the loop of all of our great content here at Helix Plays Games, such as Talking the PS, where we break down all the news happening on the Sony side of gaming. And this week, we've got a big show because we're talking about an upcoming PlayStation showcase, which actually happens on Wednesday this week, and we're hoping, probably, if we're free, to live stream it with you guys to react to it directly. We also have our Amazon Luna podcast, Luna Listening, which drops the first Wednesday of every single month, where we break down all the news that's happening in the clouds with Amazon Luna. We have our weekly live streams, where last week Chris and I played Fortnite on Amazon Luna, and did we get to back-to-back victory royales and duos? Yes, we did. So go watch that.
I have to say, that's an achievement.
Chris actually clipped out a shot of one of them, and you can see my actual genuine surprise. Like, I was dead at that point. So Chris was like last man standing, and he was like, "What? After he seen me react, what? We won? Really?" I was just genuinely surprised. But usually we do what have we been playing, but I think we cover that in Talking to PS tomorrow anyway. So if you want to know what we've been up to there, go watch Talking PS tomorrow. So I'm going to throw something a bit different this week because we had Hjorvar write in on our Discord channel, which you can as well. Links are all in the description. And he asks, do you think all first-party studios should be held to the same standard? I mean, all studios should produce quality games, but I'm talking about the scale and graphics. Studios like Bethesda and Naughty Dog have over 400 employees, while studios like Obsidian have 200 and Ninja Theory have 120. But some people expect Avowed to be as large and as impressive as Elder Scrolls and Hellblade 2 to match the Last of Us games. Should fans' expectations be consistent or vary based on the studio's size? Rob, your initial thoughts?
In principle, 100% yes, they should. But I feel like the way it falls down is that out of all the people who play games, there's such a tiny, tiny amount of people who kind of care about how the sausage is made, to speak, that they'll never know kind of the scale of effort that needs to be put into a game to get it on a shelf. And I don't think they care, to be honest. So I think when they see two games next to each other, they just assume that there's like these games coming out of some like magic void that like, and they just appear, and there's infinite resource to make them in like the perfect image of what they'd want them to be. And so yeah, they should have different expectations, but I think practically people just will never accept it.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think it's absolutely fine for studios to develop games with different scopes. Even a game that's known for like making a massive, like huge open world RPG 100-hour behemoth of a game. Mm-hmm. If they want to make like something a bit smaller, maybe a 10-hour smaller title, that's fine. I think it's actually good that there's a variety of different stuff out there. But that for me is more the game in terms of what the concept of the game is rather than the quality of the game. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of this. I think Redfall's a good example of this, where I think this is where Microsoft fucked up in a big way, in my opinion, because they pitched this as a tentpole Xbox title as a de facto reason why this game is why you should buy an Xbox. And if you're pitching that, this is where it's going to fit in your product catalog. I think it's reasonable for fans to kind of look at a game like that and go, so this should be on par with the stuff that PlayStation are pitching into the equivalent in their catalog. Because that's the standard. You've set the standard for what a tentpole platform exclusive is. Sony have set that. And I think Microsoft are failing to meet it. So I think Hellblade, I think it is reasonable to expect that this is at least approaching the quality of The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
I guess what the issue is that when it's how a publisher pitches a game, and then how much resource they give to that, and it's almost not like, I feel like most game developers they want to make a good game, but they have to play within the rules of which have been set by the company. So it's like you will put X amount of hours into this feature. There's going to be a guy kind of managing resource and managing the finances and things like that. I think on an individual level, every single developer wants to make the best version of what they can, but they have to do that within like, what's the best version of this you can make in 5 hours, like this feature, for example. That's the reality of any software development, really. And it's that disconnect when a publisher says, this is going to be a big, massive title, and then they don't resource it properly. Yeah, that's when you get these issues.
Well,
I think.
This is what I said about Redfall, where I think if Redfall was pitched as like a $40 title, this is just going to be a Game Pass game. It's more going to be here's a fun experience that's just going to pad up the library a bit. I don't think it would have come in under anywhere near the level of criticism.
Oh, absolutely not. And you get that on the flip side as well.
That's not how it was pitched, and it's not how it was priced.
Yeah. Like, some of my absolute all-time favourite games, which I've put the most hours into, have been 7 Days to Die, which started off as, I think, 4 or 5 people making that. Bannerlord, that started off in, like, the Mount & Blade series. That started off as one person just doing that. And, like, those games are fantastic. But because I know, like, the story of the developers, I give them lots of passes on bugs and kind of stuff like that, because, you know, it's like, well, especially with Bannerlord, I look at myself and I'm like, could I do this? And I'm like, fuck no, I couldn't. Yeah. Like, so I give a lot of leeway for that, but most people won't know what goes into the game. That's the issue. Yeah.
So the thing is, I think we're in a situation where, at the moment, when it comes to first-party tentpole exclusive titles, that, as I said, I define these are getting pitched by the platform holder as the reasons why you should buy their box. Microsoft is in an unenviable situation where last generation Sony completely rewrote what the rule book for that is, the expectations. They raised the bar to such a high degree. Microsoft, I think, are suffering from that. And is it unfair? Yes. I think it is unfair for us to hold Microsoft to that. However, I think that is just the reality that they have to accept now, though.
Yeah, the paradigm's shifted, hasn't it?
Yeah. So Sony, as I said, they rewrote the rulebook, and like now Microsoft. So when things like Halo don't quite reach the quality that people were expecting, when Redfall it's pitched as a tentpole title, but then just feels like it should just be a catalogue filler. And yeah, so things like Hellblade, it's not fair on the developers to hold something like The Last of Us or God of War as this is your target. You need to hit this level of quality. But that is how the industry is going to look at it. That is how consumers are going to look at it. So if Hellblade isn't approaching that level of quality, it's going to come under unfair levels of criticism. And it is just that I do think this is it's reality. This is just unfortunately how things are, because if Microsoft gone, Hellblade 2 is why you should buy an Xbox, but it's not as good as the games that Sony is saying these are the games of why you should buy a PlayStation, then why should you buy an Xbox? Yeah.
So to loop it back around in a sentence to like to sum up, I think, should fans' expectations be consistent or vary based on a studio's size? I think publishers should manage fans' expectations based on studio size. Yeah, that's absolutely where the onus is.
I think it's getting the marketing team to be fully aware of what the fans' expectations are for this game, as well as what the quality, what the experience of the game actually is. Well, I think Redfall, it's an easy example because it's recent. I think a perfect example of, well, actually Google Stadia in its entirety. That was pitched as a potential console killer, not a single console killer, but something that could shift the paradigm of gaming in a way that could make an end to the box under the TV.
Yeah.
And then it got nowhere near that, and it got absolutely torn apart by the video game press.
Yeah.
Because
and the thing is, like, I work in marketing, so like I know more than most. Like, if you give me a product, I'm gonna hype the shit out of it any way I can, because ultimately, like, my...
But it can be a double-edged sword, though. If you overhype it, then under-deliver, then you lose trust.
Oh yeah, but I work in marketing. That's not my problem.
Yeah.
Like, I'm there to, like, get the cash, like, sign moving, and then, I don't know, PR or the game studio head can deal with the fallout. Like, that's just my job.
If you look, I think this is where I think, like, for someone like Xbox, they kind of need this is unfortunate. This is probably Phil Spencer's job, where he kind of needs to balance that, but the need of getting this game, the immediate game hyped to a point where it's going to sell units, but also not overhyping it, managing the expectations so it doesn't harm the studio's credibility.
Yeah, like, honestly, like, I hope none of my clients are watching and listening to this podcast, but like, some of the shit products like that come across my desk, which I have to then transform into something I
name them.
No. But like, I genuinely get excited by certain things, which I know like have no real value, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question, and to be honest, we could do probably a whole hour on this if we wanted to, but I think we'll leave it there. So yeah, I think realistically we should vary our expectations. However, I put the onus on the studio itself and the publishers to kind of set the expectations correctly.
Yeah, 100% agreed.
But Rob, would you like to introduce us to the
excellently exuberant excavated Xbox expose, aka the news?
The news. As always, our news is echoing the news. Our news is brought to you by our Helix Heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p over on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Helix Plays Games, which gives you early access to shows, custom emojis, and much, much more. First news story of the week. PlayStation exclusives about to come to Xbox. Sort of. PlayStation exclusives Stray and Kena Bridge of Spirits are rumoured to be coming to Game Pass.
I would love these titles on Game Pass. Like, I mean, Stray, like Kena Bridge of Spirits, I keep getting warned about from Chris. But I think they'd be great titles to conclude.
Yeah, so these are actually third-party studios that were, well, they're basically both made by indie studios that had an exclusivity with Sony. But it looks like because the exclusivity is coming to an end, that they could come to Xbox and potentially Game Pass. I think Stray as well. Actually, to be honest, they're both like really good games. Kena didn't. I don't know what it was. Didn't quite. Kena should have been a very much a Richie ass game as someone who likes his traditional Zelda experiences. But I think I fell off it a bit. I think it is quite a difficult game, and I think I got a bit frustrated in a few boss fights and just threw in the towel on that game probably a bit too early.
Yeah, but the crazy thing is, like, it passed by me who kind of likes those styles of games.
Yeah.
Like, so if it's coming to Game Pass, God, that would be such a nice win for me.
Potentially coming. There's nothing
Yeah.
concrete in the rumours that say it's coming to Game Pass.
It makes sense though, doesn't it? It's like it's got past this like initial launch window. It's like the hype's kind of been around it. I think they'd just be relatively good titles to go straight to Game Pass.
Yeah, and so that's keen. With Stray is one of them. Like this is a smaller title that I think that was executed incredibly well.
Oh yeah.
And, well, actually, it might even be up in the YouTube video as we're talking, but Chris and I, we both completed we raced this game. We did a head-to-head live stream where there's a speedrun trophy where I think you have to complete the game in, like, something like under 3 hours.
Yeah. Didn't you win that, by the way, as well?
Oh, yeah, easily.
Yeah. That's why you brought it up, isn't it?
Well, no, actually, it's one of the most, like, unique pieces of content we've actually done because it's a split screen. You can see both Chris and I both going for the trophy at the same time. So it's kind of a unique piece of Helix Plays Games content. So if you haven't watched that, please do. It was really fun to do something like that. It's like I've always thought we could do something more like that, like a head-to-head thing, but it just would require the right game.
Mm-hmm.
I've even talked to Chris about potentially doing something like that for like Uncharted, but I think he'd kick my ass. I don't think that wouldn't be close.
I think I could take on Uncharted maybe.
Yeah. With Stray was one of them. There was a realistic expectation where we'd probably be about as good as each other. Yeah, and the time of doing it fit nicely with like the length of a live stream. So like, yeah, because that came about because Chris was going to just do a live stream to get the I Am Speed trophy on stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, well, I just basically challenged him to it. So we set up so you get it split screen.
Nice.
But yeah, I think these will both be fantastic titles to come to Xbox, even if they don't come to Game Pass. But I think it's one of them where if they come to Game Pass, you're going to get more hands on them, more eyes on them. Mm-hmm. And it could be both for them. Both from small development studios. They've probably already made the money, so if it comes to Game Pass, that initial bag of cash that Microsoft would dump on the lap would probably be more beneficial to them than just this slow trickle of sales that they'd get.
Yeah, and practically speaking, I don't think anybody's buying a PlayStation to play Kena Bridge of Spirits anymore, are they? It's not like
it's not. Like going back to like Hjorvar's question, they're not tentpole titles to fit, like why these are not the reasons why you should buy a PlayStation, but these are what Redfall should have been. Hey, if you've got a PlayStation, you should play these games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But moving on now then to our next story, and this is news that Microsoft games are coming to GeForce Now.
Do you feel like any of the barriers that kind of used to exist with kind of titles being sacred to one platform are just kind of gone now?
I think that's very much the play Microsoft are going with, because in Phil Spencer's own words, they lost the last console generation.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this generation, what they're trying to do is, well, we lost the battle, so let's just end the war.
Yeah.
like
4D chess thinking right there, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not going to like compete with Sony. What we're going to do is we're going to go in a complete different direction with things, which I think is healthy for the industry, actually.
Yeah, 100%.
And, well, Microsoft don't seem to care where you play their games anymore, as long as you're playing their games.
Mm-hmm.
Which is problematic when their games aren't stacking up at the moment.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, this came about from the 10-year deal that they clearly signed to try and get the Activision Blizzard King deal over the line. But, yeah, so it seems to be starting with Gears.
You know what? Gears is a franchise very close to my heart as well. And it's one of the reasons I actually bought an Xbox 360 back in the day. Do you remember the original Gears of War trailer, which had the Mad World song? And it was
actually, as someone who's only recently got involved in the Xbox ecosystem, Gears is one of them things. I hear the title chucked around a lot, but until we started XPass, I never had a concrete vision in my mind of what Gears actually was.
Well, no, it came out as like super, super strong franchise, and then I think it really did suffer because it was restricted to Microsoft during like the last generation, which, you know, less said about that, the better, really. So the fact it's branching out into other platforms, I think, is just overall good in every respect of the word.
Yeah, it makes it more accessible, makes it, in a way. These are the PC variants of the games, which, to be fair, I don't think it matters that much anymore in the Xbox ecosystem. The other games coming are Deathloop, which is actually Deathloop, first game I ever played on my Xbox Series S.
Yeah, really, yeah. It's really fun.
It's a really fun game, but it suffers from ZeniMax-itis, as I'm going to refer to it, where every game from like ZeniMax, the ZeniMax studio, like family, from like Bethesda, they all feel quite samey a bit, and it's like, yeah, this is fun, and I would have absolutely loved this game 10 years ago. But they're just not the style of games that I'm currently into. I'm sure I'll come back around to stuff like that, but it's Grounded. We streamed that really cool game. If you want to get shrunken down, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, chuck them in the garden. Now build a castle made out of leaves. And that seems like a weird concept for a game, but it is actually really fun in that kind of... It's a survival game, so if you like something like Valheim and you want to like a different take on something like that, Grounded could be really cool, fighting bugs and insects and stuff, exploring the garden. And Pentiment, which is a smaller... I think that was from Obsidian and got quite well critically acclaimed. So decent,
yeah, I remember it talks about that.
Yeah, so a decent library there to come. And this is the beginning. All these are coming the 25th of May, so coming this week.
Yeah, it's important to say this is the start of I feel like a swell as opposed to a one-off event, isn't it?
This is the first of... I mean, we kind of discussed that, these 10-year deals, we were kind of like, Chris especially was like, you're like signing contracts for stuff you don't own, but this is obviously, clearly, they're thinking more than just the Activision Blizzard King deal.
Oh, yeah.
Even if the deals have probably conceptually came from a way to get that over the line.
I think what they maybe learned a lesson not to kind of put all the money on Red, so to speak.
Well, talking about putting the money on Red, they signed a similar deal with Nintendo. It's not that weird. It wouldn't be that weird for the same library of games to get announced to come to the Switch.
No, they're not particularly like kind of resource-heavy games in the way that kind of like the first-gen stuff is and stuff like that. So, yeah, why not?
Well, there'd have to be, I think, some development done to get these ported to the Switch.
Of course, yeah.
However, the Switch, Nintendo have dipped the toe in the cloud gaming thing. I think controls on the Switch running through the cloud. In fact, Nintendo's online offerings, like the NES, the SNES, the N64, all that is cloud-based.
Mm-hmm.
So things like Deathloop, Grounded, Pentiment, and Gears 5, they could just go, you know what, we're going to run it through the cloud.
Yeah, and it completely sidesteps the hardware issue, right?
Well, not entirely, because I think the network card on the Switch is crap.
Oh, right.
So it doesn't matter how good actual underlying streaming tech is if like the device you're playing on it has a poor connection.
Maybe they can bring out like a wired expansion for the Switch.
I can't remember off the top of my head, even though my Switch dock is behind me. If you can just wire it in by Ethernet, but I think the wireless card. But even then, that's all running through like the same USB, so you'd be handling display and internet all the way through the same USB-C connection. So that could, even if you had it Etherneted in, it could potentially be a bottleneck in there.
So Nintendo, bring out a new Switch.
Yeah,
bring out a new summary Switch. Of this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a sidetrack, but I think it's the wireless card in the Switch is one of the things that makes Nintendo's online offering in general kind of problematic. I know people have complained about it in things like Smash Bros. And Mario Kart and stuff where sometimes it's just not as good as it could be.
It's just like a non-starter, isn't it, for the entire cloud service?
Yeah, but that aside, Xbox Series S and X have passed 2 million units sold in the UK.
Good. I do wonder how many of these are on the All Access plan. Because I assume that counts in the figures, right?
Yeah, I mean, the All Access plan is ran through Klarna, so it's financed. So Microsoft have got all the money. It's paid. It's paid for. I'm in debt to Klarna. Like, that's how it works. Like, so it is a sale. Like, realistically, it's no different than putting it on a credit card.
Yeah,
just using a different service to finance it. So it's a nice little kind of milestone to hit. One interesting thing, which I saw like a lot of people talking about when this news story hit and kind of like discussing, is for anybody who's not in the UK, we have a chain of stores called CEX, which kind of do like essentially it's a pawn shop for focus on games and entertainment. Now, weirdly enough, they've stopped accepting Model S Xboxes on trade-in, which is kind of an interesting point. So I don't know if like a lot of people are buying them and then kind of, I don't know, hitting like a wall with them or something. My assumption there would be that would have to probably they're struggling to shift the stock they have.
Yeah, but also again a lot of stock. Again, people trading them in as well would be my take. So, like, I'm going to be honest, my Series S has kind of been demoted to a streaming box. If I didn't need it at all, I probably wouldn't have it. But it's a fact that like you can't kind of stream for cloud very well, can you? So it is a Game Pass machine for me.
Well, I mean, I bought it as a Game Pass machine. That is literally the reason I own one. Mm-hmm. Because I already had a PS5, so my PS5... It's why I went for the Series S and not the X, because for third-party titles, where I want as much power behind the platform as I can, I'm going to play it on my PS5. Mm-hmm. For Sony exclusives, obviously PS5. So it's only going to be, realistically, Microsoft exclusives that I'm playing on that console.
Yeah. So the question is then, do you think that like the Series S and X hitting this kind of milestone, do you think it's down to the consoles themselves, or do you think it's down to the strength of Game Pass?
We should say like this. It took 128 weeks to get to this past the 2 million milestone. PlayStation 5 took 98 weeks. Just these numbers for context: Xbox 360 took 110. Xbox One took 104, so it's a little bit slower than previous offerings, but not by any terrifying margins. Mm-hmm. I think I could see a situation where some people are buying the Series S, getting buyer's remorse, trading in, and getting a Series X.
I've had this similar thought in my head, because the onboard storage on the S is... I hit it a lot of the times. Like, I'll download a new title from Game Pass and then, like, I sometimes struggle to make room on the Series S, I have to say.
Yeah. In some ways, where I think the Series S, for me, is a double-edged sword for Microsoft. Because, in one way, it makes gaming much more accessible by being able to cut down on the price of the box, which makes it easier for people to buy. But on the other side of it is games now have to be developed for the less powerful console as the baseline, which could potentially hold titles back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm glad they did it for my personal use, because it meant I didn't have to buy a Series X, so I saved like a couple of £100 in buying the Series S. As my Game Pass box. And with the PS5 being probably my primary way of playing games, my Switch being my Nintendo exclusive box, so I didn't want to spend a huge sum of money again. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think a lot of it comes down to Hjorvar's questions, like what are the games? I think if you're looking at the games, why is the Series S and X lagging behind previous generations of console? Although I don't think the numbers are that extreme. It's a couple of weeks behind. Mm-hmm. I think it comes down to games. Game Pass itself is a great platform But it comes back, as in Hjorvar's question, I mentioned tentpole titles, the reasons to buy a platform. What are they for this generation of Xbox?
Yeah, true. Like, I personally think a lot of people are buying like the S on kind of for Game Pass, and then like I've really hammered the Game Pass library over the past how long have I had it now? Like 6 months, give or take. And I'm getting to the point where like nothing significant is topping it up, to the point where like my Xbox is getting a bit neglected. Like obviously like I'm moving and stuff, so that always like sucks away time. But I do feel like, yeah, as you say, it all comes back to the titles, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm in this weird era for me when it comes to games where as you get older and you have more and more responsibility, you have less time to spend on games, which means I want to maximise my entertainment out of the games, which is why I'm usually quite a bit down and pessimistic on even like 8 out of 10 experiences, is like, because this is my free time. And why would I play an 8 out of 10 when there's a 9 out of 10 in my library that I haven't played, or a 10 out of 10? And Game Pass for me at the moment is 7. It's brilliant to have this huge, broad library, and there's tons of stuff in. I've just jumped in for a single evening when you just want to. I just want to play something. I just want to shoot something for a bit, so I might jump into something like a Halo. Mm-hmm. But they rarely grip me in the way of like Zelda is, the way that Octopath has, the way the Hogwarts Legacy has, and all them titles I've played on other platforms. So Game Pass is providing great value, but I'm not looking at the moment. I'm personally looking for quality above all else. I'm happy to buy just a handful of games a year if they're really good.
Yeah, that's fair.
But as a streamer, love it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely love it as a stream. So that is a duality of me. Like, YouTuber having a huge broad library of games means there's always something new and interesting I can just showcase on the stream. So if we're ever stuck for what the stream, or I can just look at my Game Pass live and go, we'll do that, like we did with Valheim. Like, hey, it's just a title, let's just go for it. But in my own personal time, I'm more of the single player, 100-hour experience sort of gamer. Well. Yeah.
So in short, congratulations Xbox on passing your mark.
Yeah.
Get some good games out, please.
But do you know what could actually get me playing my Xbox in one of these big 100-hour experiences?
Let me know.
There's a rumoured remake of Persona 3 happening potentially at Xbox Showcase next month.
This seems right up your street.
Oh, 100%. I love Persona 5. Persona 5 is a 100-hour game, which I completed twice.
Which, there's not many titles that can take that kind of
I have
title, is there?
I have the platinum in it. I haven't played Persona 5 Royale, actually. Persona...
It must be a true
Persona
fan,
5,
Richie.
It's Persona 5 with more game. Simply because I didn't have it, and I've played enough Persona 5 to, like, I don't want to go back to it anytime soon. If I was to go back and replay Persona 5 again, then I would play Real, but...
Yeah, fair. So, for someone like me who has next to no experience with Persona games, where's Persona 3 in, like, the generations?
So, Persona 3, I think, was PSP.
Okay.
In fact, it's on Game Pass. The original Persona 3 is on Game Pass. I have a first look on the channel.
Okay.
It's aged a bit. Mm-hmm. You can see, when I played it, I could see some of the design concepts that carried through to Persona 5, but you can see how far the game's come. So gotcha. Persona 5 is like, it's a combination between a dating sim and a traditional JRPG, and it's based on this like calendar system. So every day you get so many actions, you can interact with your party members, or you can go into the dungeons, or that kind of stuff. You have to basically make your choice how you're going to spend that day. Are you going to spend the day in the library studying to boost your intelligence stats? Are you going to go on a date with one of your party members and to improve like your relationship with them, which can have then knock-on effects into how your party responds when you're in a battle. Persona 3
Gotcha.
is kind of like that, but rather than like having control of your character in a 3D space, walking around the different like areas, like whether you're going through like the underground in Tokyo or around the school or going into the dungeon itself, it's largely point and click.
Right. Okay. Got you.
Apart from when you're in dungeon, from what I've played. So Persona 3 Remake seems like a smart move for a game that is, from what I understand, because Persona 5 is the only one I've really played in any depth, is quite lauded quite well by the hardcore Persona fan base.
Right. Got you. Okay. I mean, it'll be great to get a remake of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think it'd be a great, actually, like, flex for Xbox to actually have it at an Xbox showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I said, this was a PSP game. Like, the Persona games are almost synonymous in my mind with PlayStation.
Again, it's just those barriers breaking.
Yeah.
Like we said.
And it's expanding the catalogue of Microsoft to include different genres of games. So I really hope these rumours are true. I do need to go back and play the Persona 3 and 4. But I think if this rumour is true, I think I would rather wait for the remake of Persona 3 rather than play the old version. Yeah,
just do another playthrough of number 5, Richie.
Yeah,
break that 300-hour barrier.
I mean, I've been brought up loads of times that I think it's time for like a Persona 6, but this could also fill that gap, the same gap that I'm looking for, and then they could take more time on a Persona 6. But let's moving on to Mortal Kombat 1, which is the actual name.
1.
So, Rob, is this the first game to actually have 1 in its title?
I mean, you got the Xbox One, I guess.
Not a game, and also not the first Xbox. I know we refer to a lot of games as 1, like Sonic 1 for the original Sonic the Hedgehog. But this is actually called Mortal Kombat 1.
Is there no titles which have like kind of, I don't know, like title colon like day 1 or something like that? Does that count?
Maybe.
I can't think of one.
Yeah, I can't think of one. Anyway, that's kind of like a bit of a side thought I had while I was writing the show. But so Mortal Kombat 1, it's basically they're rebooting the entire Mortal Kombat franchise. It's due out September the 19th this year. But to be honest, I kind of like them calling it 1 as a reboot of the franchise.
Yeah, I don't mind it, because when you think like Mortal Kombat's been going for, Jesus, like since the dawn of gaming, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it's a bad thing, because obviously like, each iteration gets a bit more convoluted and a bit more kind of away from that core thing that got attraction. So, yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing.
And it's one of them, as beloved as the games are, and probably the law is, sometimes I think you get to a point where you've got so many games, the whole thing becomes unmanageable, and how many times can you kill off the same character, then resurrect them in some sort of convoluted manner? Sometimes I think it is a good, smart move to just go, you know what, we're not going to take away from anything that's already happened before, but we are just going to draw a line under it and just start again.
Yeah, and it's also important to note that, because like Tekken kind of suffered with the same thing. Like, these games were never meant to house a narrative. They were beat 'em ups.
Mortal Kombat,
to an extent,
a bit more than some of the others. Like, was.
Yeah, well, you have to remember, like, they started life on like arcade boxes.
Yeah,
like there was never meant to be no complex kind of lore in them. And it's all just been kind of tacked on and developed over time, which they've done well to do that, but it does result in things getting a bit convoluted because they were never meant to be this big thing, really, were they? So I'm happy for reboot, and to be honest, it would be a nice jumping in point for me, because I abandoned beat 'em ups when they went down this route of like, it just feels like the same thing, and there's like somehow like this person's got revived by electricity and is now Ogre Hayachi and stuff like that, and yeah, I'll be happy with it.
my thing is like I think I could get really into the lore of Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
My problem is I'm not a fighting game guy. I think fighting games are at the best, I think, when you're actually really good and you're playing online, or you play on the couch with friends in an evening. But that's not really how I game. So, and I think, because I would just I'd treat this like I treat FIFA, where I pretty much exclusively play against AI. So I was like, so I'm glad it's coming. I like the concept of just rebooting it entirely. And I wish, to be honest, if they brought out a Mortal Kombat anime, I'd be about that.
Yeah.
That'd be great. But let's move on to what should we go to next? We got a bit of time for some stories. So Starship Troopers, because why not?
I'm so happy you picked this one.
Starship Troopers Extermination dev aware of the demand for an Xbox version. So this was the one actually Chris put into the doc, not me.
I've had this game in my Steam library like all week, and I just haven't had a chance to play it, and it's absolutely devastating me because it looks so good. Like,
so tell me a bit about the game, Rob, since you've looked into it a lot more than I have.
I have, yeah. So it's it's like an early access title to, like, in terms of scope, and it's not like a AAA. It's nothing kind of groundbreaking in terms of game design or anything like that. But it's a 16-person squad shooter, and it's basically just Starship Troopers. You just go in a first-person view. You've got like your kind of 3 classes you can pick from, and you just go and kill lots of bugs, and it's complete chaos by all regards, and it just looks like a really faithful kind of game adaptation from the movie, which the movie is
fantastic.
Like, I just love it.
The first one is fantastic.
We don't talk about the others.
The others are basically pointless, yeah.
Yeah, but it just looks fantastic, and it looks like for an early access game, it looks like it runs pretty well. Like, most of the bugs are the ones that you kill, which, but it just looks like a really fun title, and I want to play it so badly.
Would you like to know more?
Yes, apparently there is demand that it's coming to Xbox. I think the workaround, but the...
Yeah, to quote the developer who answered in an FAQ, the developers are Off-World Industries. Right now, the Starship Troopers Extermination team is focused on the Steam Early Access launch. We're aware of the demand for a console release, but our current goal is working towards its release on PC first. However, not even the Ministry of Paranormal Warfare of Military Intelligence Department knows what the future holds. I like that.
It's so good.
I like what, he's a serious answer. Just paraphrase the answer. Yeah, we know you guys want it. We also would like to do it, but at the moment, this is what we're focusing on. Mm-hmm. And then to just go, we're going straight into the law of this. Like, yeah. Stuff like that, sure, like, they care.
Yeah, and it's a very sensible choice as well.
Yeah.
Because, like, the easy cash grab would be to do what, like, other titles have done and release early access games onto other platforms. And it looks like they're not doing that, which is, again, something I support.
At the moment, it's got a 9 out of 10 on Steam. Very positive on all the reviews. Stuff like that, if they're focusing on getting the PC version up to scratch, and as you said, doesn't seem to be too much in the way of bugs, even though it is an early access title, which when you give a game that early access tag, you can forgive a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because if you're buying it in the knowledge that the game is not complete.
Yeah. And again, goes back to the original question we had at the start of the show. Like, this isn't a big studio making this game.
It's not pitched as a tentpole title. It's not $70. It's £20.99 on Steam right now.
Yeah, yeah. And the most bugs it has are the ones that you need to exterminate on screen.
Yeah, so this back to Hjorvar's questions. Like, this is one where I think it's pitched right. It's priced actually probably a bit cheap. Mm-hmm. From what you're saying and the reaction, I think they could have put another 10 on that.
Oh yeah. I guess there's always the question: is like, does this franchise still have legs after how old's the game now? The movie, God. Sorry.
Oh God, it's like, was it 90s?
Yeah, so it's like...
And you have to... I think as well, part of the pricing might be with the idea that this is a 16-person co-op shooter, which therefore requires a decent-sized user base.
Yeah.
So you don't want to price people at the market. You want to price people in a way to give it a chance. So they might be undervaluing the game to guarantee that they get the player base there.
I'm also quite happy that they haven't went down the route of, the standard now is to have X amount of people in a match, so we're going to hit that standard no matter what. They've just said, no, 16 is a nice balance between like the chaos that we want to portray on screen, but in the practical terms of getting a good pie together and stuff like that. It feels like a nice number.
It feels like, I think usually like the party size now tends to be 3. I'm sure this is like being one of them where they've looked at metrics in terms of like party size and stuff and found that typically people find it a lot easier to get 3 people together than 4, which I think was the old standard. But if you was only 3 of you playing this game, it almost feel like you're overpowered. They'd have to cut down the amount of bugs probably, or nerf the bugs, which reduces the threat.
And that defies the point of the game. The point of Starship Troopers is like the swarm of bugs and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, and the fascism.
Oh yeah, the fascism.
Yeah, but it looks good. You know what? I hope this does. I want. You know what? I'm being greedy here. I want this to come to Game Pass.
But the price point, I don't think it will be that expensive compared to other stuff they bring.
As I said, the price is 21 quid, but I still want it to be free.
It's like, I refuse to buy an Xbox title. It needs to come to Game Pass.
The thing is, if it does well enough, and it seems to be, that's the sort of thing where Microsoft and Sony's heads might be 10 go, oh, we want a bit of this. We could add this to the library. Sony especially are trying to maximise, get some more like studios in to do like multiplayer experiences. They could be positioning themselves for a purchase here if they play the cards right.
But yeah.
They might not want to do. They might want to say, "Nah, we're just going to stay independent." So just
in the best scenario, I'll be able to report back on how it is to play next week, but we'll see.
Awesome. If I had some more money in the bank and more time, I might have even considered jumping in. But so moving on, a few more stories to go through. Just trying to pick which ones. Let's quick update on Activision Blizzard King. The EU and China have both approved Activision Blizzard King deal. So it's only the UK is really holding out on this.
Like the UK has to revert the judgment, doesn't it? Like just for every practicality.
Yeah, but you know what our government's like?
I know, yeah, that's the
Without
issue.
getting into politics, they're very stubborn. I don't think they'll change their mind especially because of Brexit. I don't think they'll change their mind because the EU have done something.
Yeah, but then like practically how does that work for like the entire deal like with regards to the UK? I just don't see how.
Yeah, I mean the EU and China is disparate, like in terms of politically they're both okay with this.
Yeah. Like the crazy thing is I have like a friend, like I don't think I'll talk about this, but like I studied, like a big part of my uni like degree was like international law, and I have no clue how this like works in practicalities now. If with like one major economy not agreeing to like an enterprise deal, and all the others doing, I don't know how that will work.
I don't know, because then I'm trying to like figure out how this could work. So like EU saying you can do it, but then the UK says you can't.
Like I think you'd have to spin off separate companies to like for the UK
regions.
So I think so, yeah.
So Microsoft can own Activision Blizzard King in Europe, but they're separate companies in the UK. So you'd have ABK UK. But then what about in terms of intellectual property rights? Like who owns them?
So they again, all theoretical. They will be owned by Microsoft, but they'd license them out to the UK arm of Activision. I don't know.
But
it's impossible.
If the IP is owned by Microsoft or by the ABK EU, then they're effectively owned by Microsoft, which is what the UK is saying can't happen. So you'd have to do it the other way, where it's owned by ABK UK and then leased out to the EU platforms, which then why would it...
It's impossible. It's an impossible thing to do.
Yeah, it's weird because we're talking about companies here that have probably more power in the world than countries.
Yeah.
I think the UK kind of have to just, for better for worse, fold on this one. I don't...
They do, yeah, like they'll lose a bit of face, but...
Microsoft could play the nuclear option, go, if the UK doesn't fold, we're just going to pull out of the UK.
I mean, they wouldn't do that.
They could pull out the Xbox, though. Like, I know they sold 2 million consoles, but is this deal worth more than the 2 million players?
Who knows?
I don't know. Like, let us know in the comments if you have any bloody idea how this could work, because we clearly don't.
Yeah, we're just asking for some like exceptionally talented international companies expert to come along and be like, oh yeah, I'll just write this out.
Yeah.
Then someone from Microsoft sees and it's like, oh okay, we'll just copy and paste that. Thank you.
Yeah. And moving on now to one. To be honest, I've decided I'm going. This story is now just in the show purely because when Chris added this is another one that Chris added the doc. I can't not put it in because what he's wrote as the topic is who cleans a pineapple under the sea.
Who does clean a pineapple under the sea?
Well, you can if you want. This is the news that SpongeBob SquarePants has come into Power Wash Simulator.
All right.
Right. I want to talk about this from a physics point of view, Rob. So, can you explain to the people listening how you can power wash something that is under the sea?
I mean, technically, it would work fine because it's the pressure that is moving the dirt. It's not the water.
Yeah.
So
you're right, actually. Yeah.
It's like, I guess it's like kind of welding underwater. As long as you can kind of keep the pressure going, it would work just fine. It'll be a bit weaker, I imagine.
I have no idea, to be honest. I study physics. It would be weaker because of like the water, because the water pressure would like the forces on it. But
I wonder if the game's going to account for all these things.
Yeah.
You have to upgrade your pressure washer like 10x to get like the satisfactory cleaning.
Power Wash Simulator, man. The devs have hit onto something fantastic there, like where it's in concept. If you went to someone who doesn't play video games and to describe this game, and went right, oh yeah, there's a game you can play where you wash things. What is that? Right? Yeah, you have to. You power washing. So if like I don't know if you want to clean your drive, but in a video game, like.
See, the thing is, I love power washing stuff in real life as well. It makes you feel so powerful.
You know what? I love watching. It is fun to do, but it's also when you see videos of people power washing, it's so satisfying.
Yeah, you see like loads of like the YouTube videos where like they're cleaning like a rug or something, and like they've soaked it all up, and it's all like lathery, and then they just start spraying it, and like it's class. I'm going to buy Power Wash Simulator now. Yeah,
well, you can. Power Wash Simulator, it's one of them as well. It's doing the Fortnite thing where it just seems to keep attracting new IP, where we've had things like, off the top of my head, we've had Croft Manor.
Yeah.
And now we're getting SpongeBob. It was like, what else? I think we even had Midgar from Final Fantasy VII.
Well, it's a really easy concept, isn't it? Because you just like, that's all you need to do.
Someone needs to clean them.
Yeah, and then it's just, we'll release this, and it's essentially a reskin. You're not changing any mechanics of the game or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's perfect for a team that size to be able to accomplish as well, because I imagine a lot of it's just basic assets which just get reused.
Yeah, it's basic assets. The art style seems to suit whatever. So, absolutely. It's like, it's good to see, to be honest. There's smaller indie titles actually doing well. But yeah, we should stream it one day. But you know
we
what?
We should stream us actually power washing in real life.
Yeah.
That would be good.
I don't own a power washer.
I do.
Chris, man. All right. Oh, you do. Oh, there you go. At the start of the show, I did promise to talk about Nicolas Cage. So let's get into it. So Nicolas Cage has joined the roster of Dead by Daylight. So we've played Dead by Daylight back in our Stadia days. Mm-hmm. But it's like, when I saw it, it's like, wait, Nicolas Cage? Like, it's not one of his characters. It's not a character he's played. It's just Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
Well, I think like Nicolas Cage is like transcended to like meme status now after a. Did you ever watch the movie The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent?
No, I didn't.
That's basically just him being him in a movie with Pedro Pascal, and I think that he's just kind of cashing in on like the peak of that at the moment. Which fair play to him.
Yeah. Reading from a Pure Xbox article on the story, after countless awards and over 100 movies shot across the globe, 100 movies, man, that's a lot. Nicolas Cage had seen it all and done it all, or so he thought. While on set filming the role of a lifetime, his performance summoned the entity, a malevolent being of incomprehensible power. Which isn't that just Nicolas Cage?
Yes.
The actor soon found himself cast in otherworldly fog, forced to survive a host of terrifying killers, deadlier than even the most scathing film critic. Learn more about Nick Cage's arrival on Dead by Daylight on July the 5th. I love this. It's just a story I found like, oh yes, that's a good one. And Rob has frozen. Internet providers, man, they need to get their shit together. Literally. So I think I'm just going to leave this bit in actually, because it's like an hour into the podcast. So like, if you're listening this long, you deserve to hear this rant. Rob has a weird issue in his current property. Don't know if it'll happen in your new one.
It doesn't have checked.
At 1 o'clock every day, his internet just cuts out, and that's literally just what happened to us. Like, bang on. I saw you froze. Looked down at the time, and it was 1.
The thing is, I've rotated out 3 different routers and 3 different like kind of tech solutions to it. And then always the same.
You add in you're with Virgin Media, aren't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so me and Chris as well. And Chris's internet struggles are very well documented. And even me on our Amazon Luna stream last week, everything went to shit.
It's just bad, isn't it?
It's like, you have one job, internet provider, provide internet.
Yeah. Luckily, my new place has fibre into the apartment, which is very nice. And
honestly, considering how much money people pay for internet and how much it is a basic utility now, is like, get your shit together. Like,
yes, please.
Seriously.
Especially Virgin Media.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I think as soon as possible, I'm probably moving away from Virgin Media. At the moment, I can't get anyone else in terms of fibre to my property. Mm-hmm. But there's other, I think City Fibre, I've got plans for my like housing estate, so waiting for that.
Yeah, so fuck you, Virgin. That's what we're saying.
Anyway, let's round up the show by just going through a couple of games coming to Game Pass. So the games we have coming are FIFA 23, which we covered last week. Mm-hmm. Eastern Exorcist, Ghost Law, Planet of Lana, Cassette Beasts Console Edition, Massive Chalice, Railway Empire 2, Chicory, A Colourful Tale. All these are coming next week. Rob, is there any of them you want to go into more detail? I think, was it Massive Chalice that got you there?
Just why is it called Massive Chalice?
Right, Massive Chalice. When I find it. Massive Chalice is a tactical strategy game set on an epic timeline from Double Fine Productions. As the immortal ruler of the nation, you'll take command of its heroes, forge heroic marriages to strengthen your bloodlines, and battle a mysterious enemy known as the Cadence in a 300-year war. That sounds like something you might be into, actually.
Actually, yeah, but I thought you were going to say like the mystery, like evil, the Massive Chalice. It's like, I didn't know where that came into the mix.
Honestly, as soon as I started reading, Massive Chalice is a tactical strategy game. It's like, Is it?
Yeah, it sounds alright, actually.
Yeah.
Despite the name.
Well, it's coming to Game Pass on the 25th.
I think it's the word massive. The word massive in a game just...
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Like,
should we call this game
Fine-
Chalice?
Double
No, we
Fine's
should call
done
it
some
Massive Chalice.
Double Fine's done some cool stuff, so you can probably expect this actually going to be a decent game, but it's just like the name Massive Chalice.
Maybe we'll check that out, who knows.
Yeah, I think you should. I mean, it's on Game Pass, so why not? Chicory, I've heard good things about Chicory. I've never played it, so it's nice to see that come to Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Planet of Lan, I think I've heard a few things. I'm sure we've covered that recently. It's a cinematic puzzle adventure. Lana and her companion Mui go on a voyage of discovery that will take them across the strange and magical world they call home.
I like the art
Could be
style.
cool. Yeah. It looks like very Studio Ghibli in terms of its art style. Cool. But I think that's all we have time for you this week. Thank you very much for watching. If you've liked the video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel or your podcast feed of choice with notifications switched on. And if you would like to write in like Hjorvar did, we have a Discord server. Link is in the description below. With that, my name's been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.